Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Noah here, breaking down the NBA slate on Draftkings and Yahoo for Friday, November the 15th. We're going to take a look at DK and Yahoo for today, 8-game slate. Start off at point guard. We'll work our way through each position. I will touch on both sides. As we go, like always, we'll build out a core of 5 plays. These are 5 players that I see the night before that really catch my eye. These are my first looks at the slate. I am recording this video on Thursday night, so obviously things can change. Make sure you're staying up to date with injury news on Twitter, as always. You definitely want to be following injuries. You never want to just plug in my core plays and then set your lineup and forget it. You got to stay up to date with injury news in NBA. A couple things I want to hit on before we do get started with the video. As always, would greatly appreciate it if you would drop a like down below. If you are new to the channel, make sure you click that subscribe button as well. We're getting very close to 17,000 subscribers, which is just absolutely insane. Thank you to all the new people who have subscribed since the start of the NBA season. My channel's really started to take off. We've been seeing the views increase. Been getting a lot more comments, a lot more good feedback, I guess. So thank you to everyone who has commented, liked the videos. I do greatly appreciate it. Also, make sure you follow me on Twitter at DFS by Noah. If you're not following me on Twitter, I am very active over there. And last thing I want to touch on is, if you did not catch my video yesterday for Thursday's NBA slate, if you didn't watch that video, I did announce in that video that I will be starting a Patreon page. It will most likely launch at the beginning of December, either December 1st or 2nd. So for those of you that have wanted like exclusive content from me, updated content, if you wanted more from me than just the YouTube videos that I put out, I will be providing exclusive content on Patreon starting the beginning of December. Very excited to launch my Patreon page. I'm going to have content for both NFL and NBA. There'll be cheap packages available so you can get access to both sports for a very cheap price. Obviously, as we get closer to December, I'll keep you guys informed, keep you guys updated, just let you know how things are going. But let's go ahead and take a look at this slate for tonight. We'll start off at point guard, and then we'll work our way through each position. I'll try and go a little bit faster. I know my videos lately have been like 25, 30 minutes. I do want to try and cut those down a little bit to like 20 minutes, maybe like high teens, like 18 to 20 minutes. So we'll start off at point guard. James Harden, 12-3, most expensive player. James Harden right now is if Russell Westbrook sits, I like Harden. If Russell Westbrook is in, I wish I could talk. If Russell Westbrook is in, I don't have much interest in Harden at 12,300. Westbrook's the guy we're going to have to watch here. I mean, this is a back-to-back for the Rockets. This is a front end of a back-to-back. He's expected to sit out one of the 2 games. We don't know yet which game it's going to be, at least as of Thursday night. We don't know if he's going to play Friday night and sit out Saturday, or if he's going to sit out Friday and play on Saturday. Don't know yet. If Westbrook's out, I really like Harden. He's the top stud on the slate for me. If Westbrook plays, which is kind of what I'm assuming, then Harden's not probably going to be a guy I pay up for at 12-3, especially because we have guys that are still underpriced. Towns is only 10K in a great spot against the Wizards. I mean, you got Anthony Davis at 9,600 against the Kings. You got Drummond in a great matchup. Even with Blake Griffin back, you do have Drummond in a great matchup for 8,600. So I don't think I'm going to be paying up for Harden unless Westbrook is out. And I just don't think I'm going to really be paying up for point guard in general today. Like Kemba against the Warriors is a fine play, but I don't think Kemba's going to be a must for me. D'Angelo Russell continues to see monster usage with this Warriors team, but it's a really tough matchup for him against the Celtics, probably one of the more tougher matchups he's had this season. I think my favorite point guard to go to if I am going to pay up is Malcolm Brogdon. He's 7,600 on DraftKings. I really like him on DK. I really like him on Yahoo as well. I feel like he's going to be a core play for me on both sides. So lately, Malcolm Brogdon has lost some production due to minutes and blowouts. If we look at that OKC game, he only played 25 minutes, still put up 34 DraftKings points in 25 minutes, but that game, the Pacers did win by almost 30 points, so it was a blowout. That's one of the reasons Brogdon only saw 25 minutes. This game against the Rockets should be competitive. It should be close. Right now, we don't have a spread on this game or a total. Obviously, because of Russell Westbrook being questionable, that's going to impact the line. So if we get Westbrook news on Friday, like in the morning, we'll probably get an updated line for this game. Either way, I think Brogdon's a great play here. He's just too cheap. This guy still has monster usage with the Pacers so far this season. We can pull it up real quick just to see his usage. Him and Domantas Sabonis have just been going ham for the Pacers so far. Brogdon's kind of like he's kind of gotten off to a little cold streak since he was on such a good heater to start off the season. I mean, you look at this start of the season: 54, 46, 57, 46 DraftKings points. Just the last few games, he's kind of went downhill, like 36, 38, 24, 37 DK points. This is still going to be a guy that has pretty monster usage. Just so far this season, 27.8% usage rate with the Pacers, higher than Sabonis. It's the highest on the team with a decent sample size. 1.28 fantasy points per minute is his average. Assuming he plays 36 minutes, which is probably what he'll play, probably like 34 to 36 if this game is competitive, which it should be. He's going to be needed defensively. He is one of their better defenders. They're going to need him to guard Harden and potentially Westbrook as well if Westbrook plays today. So I like the discount we're getting on Malcolm Brogdon. I think he's too cheap on DraftKings. I think he's underpriced on Yahoo as well at $36. I really like him on both sites today. But just other point guards you could look to. Terry Rozier's coming off a monster game. He got priced up to $6,600 though. It's a good spot against the Detroit against the Pistons, but I don't think I need to go to Rozier at $6,600. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is someone I really like on DraftKings today. I think he's too cheap at $5,900. His price tag has plummeted after one bad game against the Pacers. Only played 28 minutes in that game. Only shot 25% from the field. Just really struggled overall. Blowout didn't help either. I mean, SGA's been a monster so far this season for the Thunder. His price has just plummeted on DraftKings, so I'm definitely going to take advantage of this price. He was $7K on the last slate, and now he's down to $5,900. He's still going to be like their go-to scorer in situations when they need to score. I mean, you look at the volume. The shot volume is clearly there, taking 13 to 14 shots every game. When he's making his shots, he's going to put up big games. He can grab rebounds. He can dish out assists as well, especially when Chris Paul's off the floor. So I really like the price tag on SGA on DraftKings at $5,900. At point guard on Yahoo, I don't think you really need to go to him because if we look at this position, or he's actually shooting guard eligible, I don't think you need to go to him on Yahoo at $26. That's probably a more reasonable price. Just looking at the point guard position real quickly on Yahoo, we'll skim through this real quickly. I think Mike Conley's one guy that I really like in a revenge game facing the Grizzlies. If we do look at pace so far this season, the Grizzlies are one of the top teams in pace. Right now they rank 6th in pace. This is a team that plays really fast. This is a pace-up spot for the Jazz. Mike Conley just feels a little bit too cheap on Yahoo at only $23. His shot has started to fall the last few games. We know he's going to play pretty big minutes if the game is competitive. This game against the Grizzlies should be competitive, 7.5 point spread. Like I said, it's a pace-up spot. It's a revenge game as well. You can factor that in if you want to. If I was to go to any other point guard besides Brogdon on Yahoo, it would probably be Mike Conley at $23. Maybe Chris Paul at $24 as well. Value-wise, though, I think Isaiah Thomas is a fine value play at $14 and a great spot against the Timberwolves. This Wizards-Timberwolves game is for sure going to be a game we want to target today. Two very fast-paced teams. Right now, this game does have a 238 total, which is the highest on the slate right now. If we look at pace so far this season, Timberwolves rank 4th in pace, Wizards rank 7th. So this is for sure going to be a game to target. If IT is going to play 30 minutes in this game, which is probably what he will play, as long as the game stays close, could easily give you 25 to 30 fantasy points. So he's for sure a value you could look to at point guard on Yahoo. But those are just kind of the guys that really stand out to me, taking a first look at the point guard position. Going back to DraftKings, obviously I have a ton of interest in Brogdon and SGA. Looking for value, though, I think Dennis Schroeder's a fine value at $5,600. Kind of one of the reasons SGA has struggled lately is because Schroeder's really benefited off the bench, and he's been playing very well, been knocking down his shots. Like in that game against the Bucks, he shot 75% from the field, 60% from three. That's not going to happen every game. Dennis Schroeder isn't going to make 75% of his shots off the bench every game, so we're going to see SGA be more productive than what he has been. If you do want to go to Schroeder, though, at $5,600, he's for sure a value you could look to. Same with like a guy like Jeff Teague. Even though Jeff Teague came off the bench, he still was very productive off the bench. 23 minutes, 33 DraftKings points. Teague's going to be a pretty productive player with this Timberwolves team just because they don't have many other guys that can score besides Towns and Wiggins. Especially if Teague moves back into the starting lineup and we can confirm that he's going to play full minutes. At $5,300 in a matchup with the Wizards, I really do like Jeff Teague. I think he would become a pretty good value. I would definitely take him over Isaiah Thomas if we can confirm that Teague is going to start. That's kind of news we'll have to wait and see on. But for cheap value plays, Corey Joseph's up to $4,600 on DraftKings. He was very chalky on the last slate. I don't think I'm going to be going to him today. Tough matchup against the Lakers, plus he's priced up as well. So it doesn't feel like a core play. There's really no cheap values I like. If Russell Westbrook is out today, then Austin Rivers could be a value play at $3,700. He's still really cheap on DraftKings. But let's go ahead and talk about some shooting guards now. So James Harden, obviously at the top, we've already touched on. Andrew Wiggins has been balling out lately. He's up to $8,300 though on DraftKings. it's hard for me to consider him a core play today, especially since Towns is fully healthy, especially because it seems that Jeff Teague's going to be fully healthy for this game as well. Wiggins has really benefited the last few games with Teague out, been playing a lot of point guard, been taking a ton of shots. I mean, you just look at his shot volume the last few games, 23 field goal attempts, 22, 33. The dude's taken a ton of shots. He's handling the ball a lot more. Just been a much better fantasy player this season. I mean, he's a fine play at 8,300. I would probably, if I was going to get exposure to him, it would probably be on Yahoo, because if we do look over here, he's only $32 on Yahoo. He would definitely stand out as one of the better shooting guard plays if you don't pay up for James Harden. I would take him over Mitchell for cheaper. You have him $2 cheaper than Mitchell. He's only $4 more than Jaylen Brown. I think I'd definitely take Wiggins there too. So if I'm going to get exposure to Wiggins, it's probably going to be over on Yahoo, where he still feels a little bit too cheap. Since Draftkings priced him up a lot, I don't think I need to really go to him today on that DK price. Bogdanovich is someone I want to talk about. He's up to 6,700 on Draftkings after coming off a monster game last game against Portland, where he played 32 minutes off the bench, had 53 Draftkings points, had 25 and 10 with 3 rebounds and 4 steals. Was a really big game for Bogdanovich. He took 19 shots in that game. With De'Aaron Fox off the floor, we are going to see Bogdanovich play a lot off the bench. He's going to handle the ball a lot coming off the bench. Kind of the same thing with Wiggins. If I want to get exposure to Bogdanovich, I think it's definitely over on Yahoo, where he's only $22. I feel like he's going to be a core play for me on Yahoo at that price tag. He just didn't get priced up enough. I mean, he was $16 on the last slate. He was one of the top plays of the slate. He was very chalky. Even getting priced up to $22, that still feels like probably $6 to $8 too cheap. Like, he should be around the same price as Jaylen Brown. So I really like Bogdanovich at $22. He's going to really benefit with Fox off the floor. He's still too cheap on Yahoo. With DraftKings pricing him up to 6,700, he's a fine play, but I don't think he's as much of a core play as he was on the last slate. But just now, some other shooting guards we can take a look at. Under 6K, I mean, you got Dennis Schroeder you could play here at 5,600. I think Marcus Smart's a guy you could look to on Yahoo. He's at $19. He does feel like one of the better cheap plays you could look to at the shooting guard position. I mean, there really isn't much value that I love here. I would try and find $3 and get up to Bogdanovich if possible, but Smart has really benefited from Gordon Hayward out. He's playing big minutes. He started the last few games, 36 minutes in both of the last 2 games, 28, 35 fantasy points. Smart does feel a little bit too cheap on Yahoo at 19, but that's probably all I'm looking to for shooting guard value plays. I mean, I talked about the guys you could look to if Russell Westbrook is out. You do have Austin Rivers, who is shooting guard eligible. He's really cheap. Ben McLemore started last game for Daniel House, and Daniel House is doubtful to play. McLemore's up to 3,800 though on DraftKings. I don't think I need to go to him today, especially not on an 8-game slate. We'll probably have better value as the day goes on. So let's go ahead and talk about some small forwards now. Small forward's kind of a position where I don't see me paying up much here. I mean, you got Wiggins and LeBron, who I've already touched on. Jaylen Brown, 7,500. Jason Tatum, 7,400 are for sure in play for me. I don't think they're going to be in my optimal cash build, though, or my single entry team, just because I feel like this is going to be a slate where I'm probably going to Brogdon at 7,600. Once we talk about center, we'll talk about Karl-Anthony Towns, who I'm going to try and pay up for. It is an 8-game slate, so we'll probably have some news break as the day goes on, and we'll get some value. If Russell Westbrook's out today, that'll give us some value. Pretty much all these slates on DraftKings for me have been stars and scrubs slate, just because there's always underpriced guys. So I don't know if Tatum and Brown are going to make my optimal build, but obviously in tournaments, these guys have a ton of upside here against a bad Warriors defense. Without Gordon Hayward, both of those guys are going to benefit, Brown and Tatum. If I was going to go to one of the 7K small forwards, it would be those two guys. I'd probably prefer Tatum over Brown, but I mean, it's really close between the two. Just other small forwards, though. Aaron Gordon's coming off a monster game where he had 50 DraftKings points, up to 6,300 in a matchup against the Spurs. I hope people chase that. I'm not going to be going to Aaron Gordon today, not in that matchup and not with the price bump either. It just doesn't feel like a point chase thing I need to do. So value-wise, if you're going 5K and below at the small forward position, Robert Covington is a guy that feels way too cheap at 4,800, but he just hasn't been playing that well lately. 31, 23, 23 minutes. He's been losing minutes. I mean, just hasn't been very productive either. He's not taking a ton of shots. I was expecting Covington to have a pretty decent season, especially with Jimmy Butler gone. I feel like there was going to be potential for him starting at the 4 to put up a double-double most nights. This is a great spot. I mean, this game is going to be the game to target. You're going to want to get as much exposure to this game as possible. Covington, if you're game stacking, makes a lot of sense, but he doesn't make it into my optimal build today. Just way too risky. You just don't know what his minutes are going to look like. I mean, could be 28 minutes, could be 22, could be 36. I mean, you really have no idea with Robert Covington. But for cheap value, I mean, there's not any good value plays that stand out to me as small forward. Like with Eric Gordon and Daniel House out, you're going to see McLemore draw the start. But like I said, he's up to 3,800, so I don't feel like I need to go there today. Small forward's probably a position I'll probably be taking a shot on maybe Robert Covington, or I'll try and get up to one of these mid-tier guys. Just like a gross position overall, there's not any core plays that really stand out to me here. Maybe this position will open up some value as the day goes on Friday. Jarrett Culver actually started last game with Jeff Teague coming off the bench, and he was pretty productive. 27 minutes, 27 DraftKings points. If he does start again and we see Teague come off the bench again, then at 4,500, especially in a matchup with the Wizards, Culver could be in play. I know he's still really cheap on Yahoo. I believe over here, yeah, he's $11. If Culver starts again at $11 on Yahoo, he would for sure be in play as a value. Just scrolling through the small forward position on Yahoo, I mean, it's kind of the same thing. If you're going to pay up, my favorite play would probably be Tatum at 33. If you're not going to Tatum, though, I mean, you've got value with Culver you could look to at $11. And honestly, that'd probably be the way I would go, especially if he starts again. Culver would probably be the play on Yahoo, either him or Tatum. Let's go ahead and talk about some power forward plays now. So at the top of the power forward position, we got Anthony Davis, 9,600, Domantas Sabonis, 8,700. Domantas Sabonis, definitely a guy I like here against the Rockets. The Rockets are going to be without Clint Capela today, so I expect them to really struggle down low. It's most likely going to be Tyson Chandler matching up with Sabonis. Now, Goga Batadze is expected to play today, and we saw earlier this season when he was active and Miles Turner was out, they did start Goga at center and started Sabonis at the 4. I'm not sure if they're going to do that today, if Sabonis is going to start at center and Goga just be like the backup center, or if they start them alongside each other. That's something we'll have to wait and see. I mean, assuming Goga starts, we're going to talk about him. I think he's one of the top values on the slate. If Sabonis starts at center, though, he is a lot more productive when he starts at center, and it's a good spot against the Rockets without Clint Capela. Pace-up spot as well. So Sabonis would probably be my preferred power forward to go to over Anthony Davis. Crazy to say, but AD, I mean, there's definitely concerns with this injury. He's expected to play with the rib injury, but you just never know with Anthony Davis. The guy still has a high ceiling. It's a good spot against the Kings, but I don't think AD is going to be a core play for me today. I'd probably save the $900 and just play Sabonis. But I do want to touch on some value plays here. There's not much that really stands out to me in this mid-range that I feel like is going to be core plays. I think this is a position that's going to provide us with some value. So just like 5K, like in this 5K range, Draymond Green was someone I liked a lot on the last slate. He was really cheap against the Lakers. He's really cheap again today against the Celtics. 28 minutes last game against the Lakers, only 22 DraftKings points. I mean, that was a very disappointing game from Draymond. I was expecting a much better game from him. He's down to 5,300, so I mean, getting Draymond at 5,300 just feels like way too cheap of a price, but I was watching some of that game, and he just did not do anything. I mean, he was standing in the corner, just wasn't aggressive offensively, wasn't taking the ball and trying to get assists. He was just, every time he touched the ball, he just give it to somebody, or he just hand it off to D'Angelo Russell. That seems like what all these Warriors guys are doing. Whenever they get the ball, they just look for D'Angelo Russell. So I don't know if I can trust Draymond. Even at 5,300, it's hard for me to go to him on today's slate. I forgot to zoom in my thing. That should look a lot better. I forgot to do that at the beginning of the video, but I guess you could take a flyer on Draymond, but I don't think he's going to be a core play for me, kind of like he was on the last slate. I really liked him on the last slate. Rui Hachimura is someone I want to talk about on Yahoo. If we do go over to the power forward position over here, you got Sabonis priced up to 42, AD's priced up to 52. Going to be hard to pay up at that spot, especially if you want to get some of the expensive centers that we're going to talk about. If you are looking for value here, though, you do have Rui at $17, and I think he's one of the top values at the power forward position. So lately, he's been playing really well. 35 minutes against Cleveland, 37 fantasy points. Last game against Boston, he did deal with foul trouble in that game. Had 5 fouls in 24 minutes. Still put up 31 fantasy points in 24 minutes. Just going back to this Wizards-Timberwolves game, this is going to be the game to target. This is going to be the fastest-paced game on the slate, and it should be the highest-scoring game on the slate as well. So I do like Rui quite a bit on Yahoo, where he's only $17. The value is pretty thin at power forward besides Rui. I mean, I guess you could take a shot on Davis Bertans, who's been playing pretty well coming off the bench. He's still minimum salary. But if I can't pay up for one of the top guys, I mean, Rui's the guy that really stands out to me at 17 on Yahoo, and I think he's going to be a core play for me today. But going back to DraftKings, he's also a good play on DK if you want to go to him. at 5,100 for sure, and is an option that stands out to me. But let's talk about some value here. So with Clint Capela out, I think we could see PJ Tucker play a lot of center minutes. I mean, Tyson Chandler is going to start at center, but we could see PJ Tucker play some center when Chandler is off the floor. He should benefit from that, especially in terms of rebounds. So 4,500, not the worst value play. I do want to talk about Goga, though. Goga is expected to play today for the Pacers. We don't know yet if he's going to start or not. That's some news we're going to have to wait and see on. If Goga does start, I think he's the top value on the slate, and I'm assuming he does since earlier this year when Miles Turner was out, we did see Goga start alongside Sabonis. I'm assuming that's what they do today. At 4K, Goga's, like I said, one of the top values. He's a point-per-minute guy. Can easily give you 25, 30 DraftKings points as long as he plays mid-20s in minutes. And if he does start, I would probably have to project him for about mid-20s in minutes. He did start that game against the Hornets, I believe, and played 32 minutes in that game, 32 fantasy points. At 4K, he's one of the top values on the slate right now. If he does wind up coming off the bench, though, I would definitely have to bump him down, but I still think he would be playable even coming off the bench. He's probably still going to play 18 to 20 minutes and could easily give you 25 DraftKings points coming off the bench. But obviously, we do want him to start. That would make him a much more appealing value play. But for 4K and below, there's really no punt plays I see at power forward. So let's go ahead and run through center real quickly. So starting off with Karl-Anthony Towns, I love Towns today at 10K at home against the Wizards. This is a great spot for him. I've talked about it this whole video. This game is going to be played at a fast pace. It's going to be high scoring. Towns should absolutely dominate this Wizards team. They really have no answer for him. He's too cheap on DraftKings at 10K. If we do go over to Yahoo, he's pretty appropriately priced at $51, but I still like him so much in this matchup that I am going to include him in the core plays at 51. I mean, Towns is just a beast. This dude should not be 10K. He's kind of like had just floor games the last few games, 53, 49, 47 DraftKings points. These are like floor games for Karl-Anthony Towns. Most nights you're going to get 60 plus from him. His usage so far this season with the Timberwolves is pretty insane. I'll pull it up real quick just so you guys can see. It's been him and Andrew Wiggins like doing all the heavy lifting for the Timberwolves. Jeff Teague's been pretty productive as well, but it's mainly been Towns and Wiggins. So if we do look at usage, 380 minutes for Andrew Wiggins so far this season, 28.7% usage rate, 1.21 fantasy points per minute. Karl-Anthony Towns, 294 minutes played, 28.5% usage rate, 1.65 fantasy points per minute. So you do the math here. If you project him for 34, 36 minutes, he probably projects for over close to 60 DraftKings points, if not over that, probably like high 50s. So love Towns at 10K, love him in this matchup. It's a great game to target. He's my favorite center to pay up for. I'd rather have him over Davis, Embiid, Sabonis. He's definitely the guy that I like the most. Now, Andre Drummond is someone I want to talk about. With Blake Griffin healthy now, that's going to cut into Drummond's like work and his usage. But Drummond's price is down to 8,600 on DraftKings, and this is like the best possible matchup for a center like Drummond that can score, that can rebound. Centers versus the Hornets have been something I've been targeting a lot this season. I really like Jonas Valanciunas on the last slate, and he had a pretty good game in limited minutes. Drummond should definitely be able to go for 45, 50 DraftKings points in this matchup pretty easily. I don't think he's going to be a core play for me today, especially because Towns is so underpriced. But Drummond would be a guy I would have some exposure to. Like, I usually play one main lineup, and then I'll have like 3 GPP lineups. Drummond will probably make it into one of those GPP lineups because I really like the matchup, and I think he does have the upside, even with Blake healthy. But looking at the mid-range at center, there's really not much I like here. I think Thomas Bryant's probably my preferred play in this mid-range, just going back to this Wizards-Timberwolves game, 6,100. He does stand out. With Anthony Davis healthy now, can't play JaVale McGee at 5,900. Jaren Jackson Jr., a tough matchup against the Jazz. He was very chalky on the last slate at 4,800. Now they priced him up to 5,500, and it's a tough matchup, so I'll probably be looking elsewhere there. I think Cody Zeller stands out as a value center, 5,400. Going up against a big front court in Drummond and Blake, you expect Zeller to have to play as many minutes as he can handle. Could easily give you a double-double if he plays 30-plus minutes, which he should in this spot. So at 5,400, don't mind going to Cody Zeller as a value, but I really like Steven Adams as a value play, 4,900 on DraftKings. Steven Adams has just not been that great this season for the Thunder. He's had some decent games where he goes for 30 DraftKings points, and then some games just hasn't been giving you much, just production-wise. This is a spot where I do expect Steven Adams to have to play as many minutes as he can handle. Going up against Joel Embiid and Al Horford, they're going to need Steven Adams' size out there to defend those guys. So I could see him playing 30 minutes. He has yet to play 30 minutes this season. He played 29 minutes against the Wizards. That's the most minutes he's played all season. If he plays 30 minutes here against the Sixers it's a bad matchup. I mean, Embiid's a good defender, Horford's a good defender, but Steven Adams is just one of those guys, even in a bad matchup, he can go out there and get you a double-double pretty easily if he plays the minutes. And now that he's under 5K on DraftKings, I mean, 4,900 for Steven Adams could easily give you 6x value on this price tag. He really stands out just point per dollar wise. I have a feeling he's going to be pretty popular on this slate, just given his what people will project for him. He'll probably project for high 20s in fantasy points and probably will project as one of the best point per dollar values on the slate. So I do like Steven Adams a lot as a value center. Enes Kanter drew the start last game with Robert Williams and Daniel Tice both out in that game. He did play 25 minutes, had 28 DraftKings points. If both those guys are out again and you get Kanter starting at center again, at 4,900, he would also be a value play you could consider. Honestly, I think I'd probably play him over Steven Adams, especially if we get news that Kanter can play full minutes. Like there was news last slate that he was going to be limited. He got limited to 25 minutes, was still productive in those 25 minutes. If Kanter starts again and there's no limit on him, he would be one of the top value centers at 4,900. Cauley-Stein's been getting solid minutes lately at 4,700 though. I think I'd just rather play Kanter. I'd rather play Steven Adams. Now, Tyson Chandler is someone I want to talk about. He'll be the last guy we talk about. So he's 4K on DraftKings. DraftKings did do a pretty good job of pricing him up. He is expected to start today for Clint Capela. Clint Capela has already been ruled out. Tyson Chandler played 16 minutes in the last game against the Clippers when Capela got hurt. That was the most minutes he's played all season. Capela did get hurt towards the very end of the game. As soon as Capela got hurt, Tyson Chandler was the first guy off the bench. I do expect Chandler to play probably mid-20s in minutes. At 4K on DraftKings, he's for sure in play as a value. I think he's a lot more appealing, though, over on Yahoo. He's still minimum salary over here. I like him quite a bit as a value center. Assuming he plays even mid-20s in minutes, he should project for probably mid-20s in fantasy points. He's a guy that can get you a double-double pretty easily. James Harden, we know, will lob it to his centers. I expect Chandler to be pretty productive in the time that he's on the floor. And it's still at minimum salary on Yahoo. I do like him quite a bit as a value. Fine play on DraftKings as well, but since he's priced up to 4K, I don't think he's a smash value play. So I guess that's it for center, guys. I think that's pretty much it for this video. Hopefully you guys did enjoy this video, and hopefully it did help you. I appreciate you watching. Make sure you drop a like before you get out of here. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you have not already. As always, be sure to follow me on Twitter at DFS by Noah if you have not yet. And like I said at the beginning, I will have some Patreon exclusive content coming out at the beginning of December. Very excited to start producing content on Patreon. Going to have a lot more in-depth videos, more in-depth articles I'm going to write myself. I'm going to have updated core plays as well, all the way up to lock. So excited to release some of that Patreon content, most likely December 1st or 2nd. But I think that's it for today's video, guys. Appreciate you watching. Good luck on tonight's slate. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.